Hey everybody, this is Bradley of Bradley Teaches, and today I'm going to show you how to make this social media animation custom framed graphic in Canva. Now, to let you know up front, I am using a couple of pro graphics or videos in the overall graphic, and the frame that I'm using is a custom frame that I made myself. But I'm going to give that to you free. Look in the description for a link for that. And it is part of a set of frames. If you want the whole set, I'll make that available for you also, but it will be for purchase. Anyway, let's jump into Canva right now, and I'm going to show you how I made that design. Let's go. Here we are in Canva, and we're going to go to the Instagram post template. You can do this in any shape you want. The shape of the graphic doesn't really matter with this. It's the elements that we're using. So as I said before, I'm using a custom frame for this design, and it is part of my Yoga and Zen custom frame set. This is the icon we'll be using here. So let me grab that, copy it, and go back to our original design and paste it in. Now we'll be using this custom frame 4 times in this design, but I'm going to show you how it's used throughout. So let's scale this up because it is our focal point of the design. So we'll scale this up fairly large. There we go, and we center it. So that's it for that. So now let's start kind of from the back and build our way to the front. I used several elements in this design. I'm not going to go through the search feature to find those elements. Instead, I'm going to go into my recently used See All list, but I'll tell you the elements that I used as we go through the design. So the first one that I used is this blue gradient, and it is called Blue to Cyan Gradient. I'm going to use that for the background. So I'm going to use it, but I want to scale it up because I want it fairly large because I wanted the gradient to be not as stark. I want to use just kind of the middle of it. And that is the design there. Let's position that backwards. And we're going to change the transparency of this to about 30. There we go. And we can lock that so we don't move it by mistake. So that is done. That's the first part. So now what I'm going to do is start to add the other elements to enhance this. So let's go ahead now, and we're going to copy and paste this frame 2 more times. So copy, paste, move that to the side a little bit, paste again, that to this side a little bit. In my design, I kind of had a faded back version of this same frame in the upper and lower corners. So we'll take the first one and push it up to the top corner, and I'm going to scale it down just a bit so it'll be a different size. And we'll get the bottom one, put it in the bottom corner, and we'll scale it down just a little bit and move it to a place where you might like it, where it overlaps, and we're good with that. Let's go to the top one. I'm going to fill with this gradient, which is called the yellow-orange gradient. So let's grab that and drag it inside that frame. I wanted this to also have its gradient kind of in the middle, but not go the full span throughout the graphic. So I'm going to double click on it, and we're going to move it to one of the lighter sides. And we're going to knock it down to about 15%. And I'm going to push it back. Let's go here, position, backward. Like how that's looking. So now let's grab the other one, and we're going to fill it with the other gradient we just used for the background of the entire design. So let's grab that and drag it in. And I actually like how that's positioned, but just make sure, yeah, let's drag it to the lighter side. And click off. And we're going to make that one about 15% also. Let's make it 15%. And we're going to position that backward. We're pushing everything behind the original frame. So now we kind of have those designs in. We have the little elements going. So now let's kind of add to the Zen, right? So I have my circle here that I want to use, and it is called a white circle spiral vector. So let's click that, bring it in, and we're going to make it larger than the original frame. And we'll position it centered. We can make that a little bit bigger because we want it to go bigger than the frame itself. There we go. I'm liking that. We're going to change the transparency of that to about 50. And as you see here, we're kind of making textured layers. And we're going to position this backward and make sure it's behind the original frame. And it can be above the other frames. And let's push it back a little more. So there we are with that. So we have our rings, we have our design. I have some little kind of flourishes that I added to mine. Now, one of these is a pro flourish. One of them is a basic flourish. You don't have to use them at all, but it's just another way to add a little more texture to your design. So the first, let's go to the free one. Let's click that. And we're going to scale this up and we're going to move it up. Just have a little bit of it in the screen. And we can even tilt that some to get the curve kind of going with that. We're just adding texture. And let's knock that down to about 40%. And we're going to change the color of this to more of a grayish tone color. So how I like to do that, I'll go here to add a new color, use the eyedropper and pick the blue of the design, but then drag it over to something in the gray area in that tone. So that's how you kind of keep everything in the same color scheme type of thing, but it's not the same color. And we do have that at 40%. And let's position that to the back, push it all the way back. And as you see now, the other colors are affecting that swirl. And we can even knock it down just a little more, make it a little lighter, put it down more in the 20s. So you can use the same swirl again, but I'm gonna go ahead and use the actual swirl that I use, which is a pro graphic, but it is called a decorative swirl. And we're gonna click that and drag it in. And we're gonna scale it up across the bottom, position it. And I really don't want the pointy areas to be showing like that. So I'm gonna do it more in this kind of look. I like that. We can change the color of this from black. We can use the same color again that we used before. And let's knock it down 30% range and position it all the way in the back so you can get that tone of that blue affecting it. Okay, so we have all the kind of elements going in. We have our circle. So now what we want to do is add the final touches, which is the animation and the video. So we're going to copy our frame one more time and paste it. And we're going to color this one white. And we're going to knock the percentage down on this to about 60, 65. And let's line it up exactly with the other frame and then enlarge it. And now let's position it centered over the other frame, but pushed up to where most of it is off the top edge. And that's a little too large. Let's knock that down just a little bit. Then we're going to position this backwards, and it is now behind the front design, and we're good. So we're going to come back to that in a second. Let's go ahead and get this video going for the main frame. And as you see here, that's also a pro video. This video is called Water Drop Slow Motion. So let's grab that and we're going to drag it into the top frame and fill it. And as you see here, it drops in, ripples go out, we're good. What I want to do is get straight to the action of this animation. What we're going to do now is we're going to click on that frame and we're going to click the scissors with the timer next to it to adjust the time of the video. So let's click that. And I'm going to drag this front piece down to where the drop is about to hit the water. That's a good spot right there, like that. Now we're going to go to the other end and we're going to drag the end cap to the portion to where the action, as I call it, ends. So that's going to put us right about here as the ripples finish. So let's watch it again. The ripples go out and the ripples finally finish. So I like that. And that puts us right at 5 seconds. Now what we have done now is we have established the length of the full animation for our social media graphic or whatever you want to use this graphic for. So it is roughly 5.1 seconds. That is important because now it sets the length of our animation that we're going to put on our background frame. So that is this white frame back here, the frame we colored white. So let's click on it and we're going to animate it. So now we know that this animation is going to last as long as the video will last. And I'm going to use breathe. So let's click breathe. And actually you see it working now. We're going to use breathe out. And we're going to set the scale to how much we want that to move. So let's check this. We can kind of just see what the movement will be. I like that movement. Now, what you need to know is that this is going to last 5 seconds. Now, the way you really want this to sync, the animation self syncs, if that's a thing, to the length of the video. But you want it to look as if that when the drop hits the water, it's making this animation breathe out. So let's watch this and see what it looks like. Drop, ripples go out, animation goes out. There we go. So it looks like the drop actually made that happen. So that's kind of how we set that up. As simple as that. So finally, let's add the text to go along with it. So we go to text, add a heading, and we're going to type in the word breathe. The font I'm going to use for this is called Buffalo. And I'm going to increase the size of this to 100. And as always, I always add my hashtag to identify the graphic or to give people a call to action. And we don't want to break the zen on this, right? So we're going to use a thin, airy kind of font. So that's it. And there you have it, the Breathe Zen animation using a custom frame and design. Now, as I said before, look in the description to download this custom frame for free or pick up the whole set for a great price. Until next time, this is Brad of Bradley Teaches. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.